name is Mindy Mair, and I'm 43, and I live out in Vernal, Utah. Vernal's starting to be a bigger town, but it's definitely not like Salt Lake or anything. We're kind of out here. Our resources are a little limited. We just got a second hospital, actually. So we have the two hospitals. We have lots of doctors. If it's specialists, we always have to go to the city. For most of the like kidney doctor, I have to go to the city. We have Walmart. I mean, everyone can live if you have a Walmart. And so we have a Smith's. So we're not really small town, but we're just a little limited. Camps, fishes, hunts, that's kind of our hobbies. We don't have like the theaters, and we have the movie, but it's not the big thing to do. It's more outdoors type of things. We're an oil field town. Most of the jobs are oil field based or gas drilling based. So it's kind of a different type of people, different more blue collar. Was a truck driver. I drove truck and school bus. I went to do that. I was a single mom. And so that I was a mortgage broker, but when my son started getting older, I needed insurance. And so that was a good job. School bus, I could take him to work with me. He rode the bus with me. So it allowed me to be a mom. In 2011, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And so we did hysterectomy and took care of all of that. They told me in 2013 that they thought I had a tumor growing on my spine. And so before I could even get to a specialist to see what was going on, I went to work one morning, drove my morning bus route. When I got back to the bus garage, I couldn't stand up and walk off the bus. So I used my hands. I got to the back, took my child alarm off, and was able to get down off the bus. And then my coworkers helped me get into my vehicle, but I drove home and couldn't get out of my car. So I drove myself to Roosevelt, because at the time that was the best hospital option. It took my insurance. So it's 30 miles away, 30-minute drive. So I drove over, parked in the ambulance bay, and called them and said, come get me. I can't walk. I spent 3 days in the hospital. They did MRIs, lab work. They found some of my labs so I had really high inflammation. So they knew something was going on. They tested positive for a gene in your body. It causes ankylosing spondylitis. So that was my initial, what they thought I had. And I'm not really positive what that even is, I'll be honest. It has something to do with your spine and how it looks. But so when I left the hospital, I left with that diagnosis. So we went to the surgeons, and we started going to the people that specialize in spines, and pretty soon they said, well, there's no spondylitis on the films, on the MRIs and the x-rays. So it's not that. So yes, I probably have that thing, but there's other rheumatological diseases that can create. So then we went to neurology. Neurology says, well, yes, there's a problem there. There's definitely, we're not getting the right signals with the nerves. So there is some nerve things going on, but we don't think that explains not walking. So then we went to rheumatology. Rheumatology just told me I'm crazy and need to lose weight. And it's all in my head is basically what they've told me. And then they sent me back to neurology. And then neurology sent me back to rheumatology. And then we went to another hospital. And then they sent me to another doctor. So that we just spent about 4 or 5 years going back and forth. And finally, I just said, I'm done. Like, my credit cards are maxed out. We're done. This is life. We're over it. My son was in 4th grade. I actually had to take him out of school because single mom, he can't miss that many days of school. And we literally were gone. It felt like once a week I was in Salt Lake for a different doctor's appointment. Salt Lake's 3 hours away from us. And so my mom quit working because she had to help me and take care of my son. And so she actually retired and spent the last 10 years tending us. So my 70-year-old mom gets to tend me. So it's a little, it's interesting anyway. My left leg is completely numb. I don't have any reflexes, don't have any feeling. We don't know why. With that, like my bones in my wrist have collapsed, and so my right hand, I'm right-handed, has lost dexterity. I spent 2 years trying to learn to write again, and I have to write with both hands. We've been passed through every professional doctor we can think of, and nobody really has an answer. There's no tumor on my spine. It magically is gone. So cancer free, but we don't know if it was the medication, like the radiation, chemo. We don't know if it was that. We don't know if it was. So I do have some spine damage. I have some herniated discs. Nothing that like they can pinpoint and say, right, here's your problem. It's more there's something wrong, but we don't know what. So since 2013, so 10 years, I've been in a wheelchair. It impacts everything. You have to think about things that other people don't think about. For instance, if I want to go to a store, I have to make sure they have a ramp. I have to make sure I can actually get into the store. You go to events, like we like going to rodeos. The arena is not ADA accessible. Like, well, it is, but we're talking minimum. I went to a business the other day that had the double doors, and they had a little bit of a lip on their threshold. My wheelchair high centered, and I was in between the two doors. No one could get in. I was stuck. So I had to like try to climb out of my wheelchair to get the chair turned and off the hump. So there's things that I now have to think about that I never knew were there. My pet peeve is our town has these beautiful flower pots all lining Main Street. They're beautiful. I love it. We've won awards. It's not handicap accessible. They're on the sidewalk. My wheelchair won't go past them. So I don't go to any business downtown because I can't get to them. There's no downtown parking. I have the handicap van. I can't put my ramp down at all, anywhere. So I shop at Walmart only because it's ADA compliant. You lose friends. I don't know how else to describe it because like what I'm going to the doctor, they're going to play dates. It's difficult because now if we want to go do something, they have to bring the wheelchair along, and so you start getting left out. Dating, yeah, don't even try. That's a whole nother issue that, yeah, nobody wants to take that on. All of a sudden you don't have that same things to talk about socially, because they're all talking about what's happening at work or with their kids, and my life is doctors and whether I can get out of bed in the morning and do it with my pants. My greatest feat is getting Levi's on, and they're talking about promotions at work. So it just changes your whole dynamic of your social network. The other thing is people treat you so differently. All of a sudden it's like you're a fragile little porcelain doll that will break if you do something, or they think because I have a physical disability, I have a mental disability too. And so they talk to you differently. People talk to me like I'm a little kid, but it just changes how you deal with everybody. This sounds really weird, but I kind of found my place with archery. I know, the lady in the wheelchair. My son started doing archery and we started doing competitions, and we went to a tournament, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to buy a bow. I'm not going to sit on the sidelines. So, I mean, I think half my arrows hit the ground, not the target, but they pushed me down to the end with the Paralympic team. And so it's all the wheelchairs and people that are missing limbs, and we're down there, and all of a sudden I wasn't the weird one in the group. I was the normal one in the group. And I found that I'm actually really good at archery over time. I had to modify my release and whatnot, but now it's changed. It gave me something to think about. Pretty soon we had a ton of kids in our backyard coming and shooting with us, and we now have an archery range. We have like 100 students. So we teach kids archery. So it's a new place to belong. Um, but it's not the place I would have ever saw coming. If I was downtown Salt Lake, I would take the buses. Like, let's be honest, it would be so easy to wheel out of your apartment or whatever and get on the bus and go where you need to go. We don't really like, we have a bus, but it only goes certain places. Where I live, I'm 5 miles from the grocery store. I'm not taking my wheelchair to the grocery store. There's no sidewalks. I live out in the country. I would get ran over trying to take my wheelchair down the main roads. I mean, there's a highway that I would have to take. I don't think I get my chair to 45 miles an hour as much as I try. And so it definitely changes. So now I have to have like a wheelchair van. Um, it 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 just is different what I need to be successful and to maintain than if I lived somewhere different. Like everybody in town knows the people that are disabled. And so there's this little group of us and people kind of take care of us or they know we're coming and that. And so like at the hospital, I had to go get records. They saw my car pull in, they bring them to the car. Where in the city, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know who I am. And so some of that is definitely better out here than other places. There's a little bit of a thing like, well, you get food stamps. No, I don't. Well, you get Social Security. My Social Security is $1,000 a month. That's all I make. When I work, I can make 600. I live on $1,600. So there's a little bit of that where they think the government is better to disabled people than what really happens. They think my Medicare is free. It's not free. I pay for my Medicare. Um, I think that they're a little blinded by it. But with that being said, our community is very generous. We do like the Trees for Charity, and they raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for different disabled people or people who have been sick. When I first needed a wheelchair, I would have people like send me $100 in the mail because they knew I needed a $5,000 wheelchair. My portion of it was $5,000. I had businesses that offered to help. So I think they're more mindful there again because they know me and they know that the need is there. Where in the big city, you're just a number. You're just somebody they pass on the street. You don't even know who you're in the store with. And I go to the store and I know 90% of the people that's in there. Knowing what I know now of when I first became disabled, I would definitely change like what wheelchair van I bought. I would change kind of some of the doctors that I saw right in the beginning. Would I take the wheelchair away and get rid of my disability? Probably not. I kind of think it was a blessing. I was on kind of a me first kind of attitude. Work came first, my kid came first. I didn't slow down to smell the roses. I was a little crazy too. Somebody said, hey, let's go skydiving. I'm right there with you. And now I have to think about things different. I think I'm a little more caring and more caretaking than I was before. I notice people's needs more. So I don't think I'd take it away. I don't think I'd change it. I would change some of the services. I would change like our house. There's some things there that I would change, but I don't think I'd change it. We've talked about moving because, it's just me and my mom basically now. And we've looked at lots of places. We've went like Arizona, we've looked at Salt Lake. We don't, there's nowhere we'd rather be. This is home. Patience is not my strong point, but definitely be patient. You have to be patient with getting around crowd and patient with people, because people don't understand. Sometimes they like try to help, but they stand in the doorway when they're holding it open. They don't know anything better. And everyone's doing the best they can, and to just be patient with them, and just to slow down too. Smell the roses. Don't be on the go 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 go. There's times to sit back and just let life happen. Don't worry so much, and to enjoy life. I think that's my biggest thing I've learned. Laugh at yourself. You can either laugh or cry. You might as well laugh. Do not dismiss people. So often people tell me that it's just in my head, or lose weight and you're fine. It'll all be better if you just lose weight. You go into the doctor, and like if I hit the ER because I've fallen, they think I'm there for pain drugs and that I'm an addict. Not everybody with a disability is an addict. There's legitimate reasons why we need pain pills. I don't know if it is more prevalent in the rural areas as the city, but I don't think I get it as much in the city. I think I think they see more patients in similar situations, and so they're a little bit more knowledgeable, I guess would be the way, more experienced. And out here, they don't understand. When I go to Salt Lake to specialists, I don't get the same treatment. And sometimes I feel like, and I'm not insulting doctors because we really do have really good doctors, but I sometimes feel like some of our doctors that come to the rural area are doctors that didn't do well somewhere else, and you only have one doctor. If I need to see the kidney doctor, I have polycystic kidney disease, and my kidneys are failing, there is one kidney doctor that comes to Vernal one day a month. Unless I travel, I have to see him. I don't care for the man. So I travel because he's not as specialized in what's wrong with my particular kidneys as the doctor I go see. And so that is a big thing in the rural, is that you're limited, and you have to deal with them no matter how big of a jerk they are to you. There's a number of times when a doctor will say something that's very dismissive, or they treat me like I have a mental illness along with my physical ailments, and I might smart off to them a little bit and have to kind of straighten them out. And one particular doctor was talking about hormones and my weight. I'm a big girl, but like, let's not even try to hide that. And I've gained a lot since I've been in the wheelchair. And it was so dismissive that his nurse even walked out of the room and like, I'm done. Like, I'm not sitting in here. This is so out of line. And so when I left, and I had to go to hospital administration, and he no longer works in this area, but like, we literally had to go to hospital administration and be like, okay, this is what he said. And the nurse went in and's like, he really said that. And he said this to this patient and this to this patient. And he had an issue with people that are disabled. He felt like that if we would just lose weight, we were fine, and we did it to ourselves, was basically what he told us. Well, and the other thing is, if a doctor doesn't know, or it's something that they can't handle, say it. Like, I'm not going to think you're less of a doctor. Just say, I don't know what's wrong. Let's treat symptoms. We're going to watch progression and move on. Like, at some point, you can't start blaming the person because there's not an answer. And never wanted to go on disability. I tried to go back to work. So I did the short term, of course, because you have to wait that 6 months before you can get long-term disability. And during that, there was lots of doctor's appointments. So fine, we'll stay on disability. But I never wanted this to be my end all. But there's not a job that I can do. They're not flexible. And when I have bad days, I have bad days. As in there's days I can't get out of bed. And you can't be calling your employer every day and being like, hey, not coming in. There are things that I can't lift heavy things, there are days when my hands don't work at all. I can't write. So it's really hard to find a job that's doable. And here's the other problem is that if you find something that may be part-time or maybe flexible, they don't make enough money to make it worth, and they don't have benefits to come off disability, come off Social Security, lose your Medicare, and try to support yourself. So it's almost humiliating. I don't know how else to describe it, but they treat you like you're useless, and you have to make that choice. Do I lose my disability and my medical insurance to get a job, or do I not eat this month because I can't afford it on disability payments? And I think it's harder in my area because there aren't jobs that I can do. Even the office jobs are oil-filled companies, and they might have stairs. Let's be honest, they're not ADA compliant. They are nowhere near it. You might have to go out on the locations. I'm not going out there and walking in the mud. Like I can't physically do it. So I'm very limited of what jobs are available. With that, and I know this is a little bit different of the question, but in our area, there's not a lot of benefits, as in we don't have some of the grants and some of the funding and stuff for disability people that they have in other places. When I needed my wheelchair van, there's nothing in the rural community to get transportation for somebody who's disabled. But if I lived in a city, there are grants to make bus stops or make it so you can get around. So it definitely affects my getting to and from work. I'm out of town, and there are days I can't get myself in and out of my van. And so I can have my mommy take me to work every day. And along with that, the things for disabled people are more expensive. My vehicle, I had to buy new because I couldn't qualify for a loan on a used van. My van, if you go buy a van that's not converted, and just for anybody, it's 26,000. I have a $17,000 conversion in my van, so my van is 40,000. So I make $1,000 a month, and my vehicle is twice as expensive as yours. Like it just doesn't make sense. I definitely wish there would have been a class when I first got disabled where somebody, like a social worker, somebody would have sat down and been like, okay, this is what you need to do. This is your life. This is how disability actually works. I have like groups in the rural community because there's not that many of us. We have Facebook where we can compare notes and stuff, but you have to self-advocate for yourself. I have learned to self-advocate that you can't just sit back and complain. You actually have to do something about it, and you don't get mad. You actually have to tell people what the problem is, because they don't know what the problem is. You can't assume that everybody knows that my wheelchair is this wide and your door's this wide and it's not going to work. You have to say, hey, I need more room. I always laugh and say, hey, I've got wide hips here, guys, got to come through, but you do have to educate people. And it's that kind of sounds bad, but it's not that they don't want to do it, or that they don't, it's that they don't know. And so you do have to advocate, um, not only for yourself, but for other people. Because there are people that are new to a wheelchair that you want to make it better for them, because it's frustrating. And and if you can change it for you, it benefits 10 other people down the road, you know. So I sat on a committee for a couple community events, and all of a sudden they were like, "Wait a minute, the bathrooms that we bring in aren't wheelchair bathrooms. The porta potties, we have to bring in the other ones. Parking. If the event is on the grass and there's a curb, you can't get to the event. Our car shows are at our local park. They have the wheelchair ramp, but it's actually a road. It's how they get their cars up. They put a chain across it so nobody drives up onto the grass, but that means the wheelchairs can't get up there either. And so we've had to fight with the rec center just a little bit about, hey, you've got to take the chain off if there's an event. You can't have that closed. Be patient. Don't give up. Do what you can do, and don't worry about what you can't do. And don't let it bog you down. Like, it's really hard to get down and depressed, and you've got to keep going. Enjoy the good things. Do what you can do when you can do it, and don't worry about the rest. Find your place and the people around you, and let the others just fall by the wayside. Just because I have a physical disability does not mean I have a mental disability. Every person that's disabled is unique. And it's not that we can't do things, it's that we do things differently. And sometimes we have to get very creative. And especially in the rural area, if we can't do something or can't go somewhere, don't think it's personal, you know. There's a reason. If we didn't get out of bed that day, it's not anything personal against you. It's that there's a medical reason why. The other thing is, it's okay to ask why I'm disabled. I can walk occasionally, and people will see me stand up because I have to walk to get to my driver's seat in my van. I have a rear entry. It's okay to come up and say, "Hey, why are you in a wheelchair?" Or and do it politely. Don't be like, "Yeah, you're just faking," you know. Come up and still treat me like a person. And that's it. We're still people. We're just people who have accessories.